Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am catering to Module 8, Approaches to Effective Communication. Man is a social animal. He cannot live in isolation. He is continuously interacting with each other. So, it is very important that he interacts in a positive manner, and for that he needs to communicate. Communication can be either oral or it can be non-verbal. Even our silence connotes so many things. So, it is very important that we communicate in a desired manner. Let's understand what is the meaning of communication first. Communication, it is the way of communicating. It is the way of sharing your ideas, your views, your attitudes, and in such a manner that it becomes a common possession for both the sender and the receiver. There are 5 elements in communication: the sender, the message, the medium, the receiver, and it is very important that there is a feedback from the receiver. So, we understand what is communication, and now we are trying to understand what is effective communication. It is always not that whatever you communicate reaches the receiver, because there are many barriers to that. Then how to overcome these barriers? To understand how to overcome these barriers, you have to understand what is effective communication. So, when you communicate in a desired manner, we call it an effective communication. Learning objectives. After going through this module 8, the learner will be able to understand the meaning of communication, to comprehend communication process, to understand the meaning of effective communication, to gain practical experience of using 7 C's of communication, to comprehend the importance of effective communication. Man is a social animal. No individual can live in isolation. Each person needs to interact. The basic activity of every human being is to engage in communication with another. With every active interaction or passive transaction, we find ourselves communicating with other people. Even our silence means some meaning, which others may interpret at their own judgment. So, to maintain good relationship, we need to communicate well. With the advancement of technology and new scientific inventions, communication has taken new shapes and forms. It has become rapid and dynamic. The digitalized way of communicating brings in more challenges for an individual. We need to keep pace with the fast digital age era, and this has made effective communication imperative. Before understanding what is effective communication, let's find out the meaning of communication. What is communication? Communication is derived from a Latin word communicare, meaning to share. It is the activity of conveying information through the exchange of messages, thoughts, or information, as by signals, written speech, visuals, or behavior. It is the meaningful exchange of information between 2 or more living people. Communication can also be defined as any act by which one person gives to or receives from person information about that person's knowledge, desires, needs, or affective states. Communication is a cycle which involves following elements: sender, message, medium, receiver, feedback. Do you know 55% of the meaning in our words is derived from facial expressions. 38% is in how the words are said, and 7% in the actual words spoken. Let's just see which are the 7 C's of effective communication. Completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, and correctness. These are 7 C's of communication which are applicable to both written as well as oral communication. Now let's understand each one of them. Number 1, completeness. The communication must be complete. It should convey the actual message with all figures and facts required by the receiver. The sender of the message must consider the receiver's mindset and accordingly convey the message. Following are the features of complete communication. Complete communication serves the purpose of the message. It develops the personality of the sender. They are cost saving as no extra cost is incurred in conveying extra message since crucial message is sent in one go. Overall, it is complete. I'll give you a bad example which you shouldn't do. Hi everyone. I just wanted to send you all a reminder about the meeting we are having tomorrow. Regards, Sunita. This message is not complete for obvious reasons. What is the purpose of the meeting? When is it scheduled? Where is it? Sunita has left his team without the necessary information. So, how to correct it? So, let's see the good example. Hi everyone. I just want to remind you about the meeting on the educational project which is scheduled tomorrow. It will be at 10 a.m. in the conference room. Please revert if you can't attend. Regards, Sunita. So you see how there is a difference between the bad example and the good example. The second C, conciseness. Conciseness means communicating what you want to convey in least possible words. But doing so, one should not forgo the 7 C's of communication. Conciseness is essential for effective communication. The features of concise communication are as follows. Concise message is both cost saving as well as time saving. It is comprehensible and more appealing to the audience. It is non-repetitive in nature. It underlines and highlights the main message as it avoids using excessive and needless words. It avoids verbosity and verbatim. It provides essential message in limited words to the sender. So again, let me give a bad example. I mean to say that I was not feeling well. Basically, I mean I had a bad throat and cough. Literally, I couldn't get up. And you see, that's the reason I couldn't attend yesterday's meeting. Are there any filler words or adjectives that you can remove from this sentence? You can often edit words like basically, you see, definitely, for instance, literally, kind of, or I mean. Are there any unnecessary or unimportant sentence? Have you repeated the same meaning in different ways? So, how to change this or how to make this as a good example? It is so simple. I couldn't attend yesterday's meeting due to my ill health and bad throat. So again you see a difference between a bad example and a good example. It's very simple. We go to the third C of communication, that is consideration. Consideration means stepping into the shoes of others. Effective communication must take the receiver into the consideration. That is, the receiver's viewpoints, educational level, background, mindset, etc. Always predict your receiver, emotions as well as problems and their requirements. Ensure that the dignity of the receiver is maintained and their emotions are not hurt at any point of time. Modify, reconstruct your words in message to suit the receiver's needs while making your message complete. So, let's see the features of consideration when you are communicating with others. Emphasize on you approach. Show optimism towards your receiver. Emphasize on what is possible rather than what is impossible. Lay stress on positive words such as thanks, warm, may I, jovial, committed, healthy, etc. Empathize with the audience and exhibit interest in the audience will definitely stimulate a positive reaction from the receiver. Let's once again see a good example and a bad example. So, the bad example is the task is difficult and cumbersome. Work on it. So, how do you make this sentence as a positive one wherein you stress on you approach, wherein you step into the shoes of others? So, let's see. The task is challenging. I need wholehearted support from my committed colleagues. Again, you see how we converted the bad example into good examples using simple words like challenging, wholehearted, committed colleagues. Okay, let's go to the fourth C, that is clarity. Clarity implies emphasizing on a specific message or goal at a time rather than trying to achieve too much at once. The following features needs to be highlighted. It makes understanding the concept very easy. It makes use of exact, concrete and appropriate words. The meaning of message is enhanced as there is complete clarity of thoughts and ideas. So, let's see a bad example. Hi Ravi, I wanted to write you a quick note about David, who is working in your department. He is a great asset. I would like to talk to you more about him whenever you have time. Regards, Sunita. Now the question arises, what is this email about? We are not sure. First, if there are multiple Davids in Ravi's department, Ravi won't know who Sunita is talking about. Next, what is David doing? We don't know that either. It's so vague that Ravi will definitely have to write back for more information. Last, what is the purpose of this email? Does Sunita simply want to have an idle chat about David, or is there some specific goals about it? There is no sense of purpose in this message. So, it's utter confusion over here. So, let's see how this same letter can be made into a good example. Hi Ravi, I wanted to write you a quick note about David Kedar, who is working in your department. In recent weeks, he has helped the research cell. We have got a new research project which needs to be planned urgently. I would appreciate speaking with you about this. When is the best time to call you and discuss this further? Best wishes, Sunita. So again you see a vast difference between the bad example and the good example. This second message is definitely much clearer because the reader has clear information. Let's move to the fifth C, concreteness. Concrete communication should not be fuzzy and general, but implies being clear and particular. It strengthens the confidence. Concrete message has following features. It makes use of words that are clear. Concrete messages are not misunderstood and misinterpreted. It is supported with clear and specific facts and figures. Let's see a bad example. Consider this advertising copy. The reference booklet will save your money and time. A statement like this probably won't sell many of this reference booklet. There is no vivid detail, no passion, nothing that creates emotion, and nothing that tells people in the audience why they should buy this reference booklet. This message isn't concrete. So, how do we change the same sentence? Let's see a good example. How much time do you spend every day searching for your reference material? No more. Just take a complete reference booklet and everything is handy and easy to access. It's offering knowledge at your doorsteps. This copy is better. There are vivid and clear images. The audience can picture how it's going to help them. The details have brought the message come alive. So your messages should be such that you bring life to what you are going to talk. Let's move to the sixth C, courtesy. Courtesy in message implies the message should respect the receiver as well as show the sender's expression. The sender of the message should be sincerely polite, enthusiastic, judicious, and reflective. Courteous message has the following features. Courtesy implies taking into consideration both viewpoints as well as feelings of the receiver of the message. It is not at all partial. Courteous message is positive and audience is the focus. It makes use of words framed in such a manner that it shows respect for the receiver of message. Let's see a bad example. Dear colleague, I want to bring to your notice that I do not appreciate the way you conduct meetings. There is hardly scope to others to express their viewpoints. Well, that is hardly courteous. Messages like this can practically start conflicts and fights. And this email does nothing but create bad feelings, which thereby lead to lowering of productivity and morale. A bit of courtesy, even in difficult situations, can always be beneficial. So, how do you change the same thing into a good example? Let's see. Dear colleague, I would really appreciate the way you conduct meetings, bringing up new and vibrant ideas. But a small request that next time when you conduct meetings, please give little extra time to others so that we can add up to your expertise. So, do you see a change? Do you see how courteous the second sender is? That is enough to bring in confidence in your receiver also. Let's move to the seventh C, correctness. Correctness in communication implies that there are no grammatical and semantic errors in communication. Correct communication has following features. The message is correct, exact and well timed. It checks for the exactness and precision of figures and facts used in the message. It makes use of appropriate and correct language in the message. If the communication is correct, it boosts up the confidence level. Correct message has better impact on the audience as well as readers. A very common example, a bad example, let's eat mummy, wherein you have put the apostrophe after T. That's a bad example. And the good example is let's eat and there should be a comma after that, mummy. So, this is enough to understand that each C of communication plays a very, very important role in our day-to-day life, and we need to understand that for effective communication, we have to pay equal attention to all the 7 C's of communication. So, awareness of this communication makes you an effective communicator. Saying so, let us understand the importance of effective communication. No matter how invaluable and brilliant is your idea, it is worthless unless you can share it with your audience. For this reason, effective communication is crucial at every level of an organization. However, the ability to communicate effectively does not come very easily to many people, and it is a skill that requires practice. Let's see the importance. Number 1, foundation of motivation. Communication is a vital factor in motivating individuals. It helps in motivation in both intrinsic as well as extrinsic ways. A highly inspired person's efficiency is increased multiple times, which is then reflected in his life and his work. Second, decision-making process. Decision-making is regarded as the cognitive process resulting in the selection of a course or action or a belief among several alternative possibilities. Every decision-making process produces a final choice that may or may not lead to action. When communication is systematic and accurate, decisions tend to be more effective and conversant. The more we are confident in our communication, the better we can take decisions. The third one, building own attitude. Attitude building is highly dependent on the way we communicate with others. We create impressions on the others with our communication styles and personality. Our styles are unique and that defines us. So, our healthy communication will lead us to build up a positive attitude. Helps in socializing. Man is a social animal. It cannot remain isolated in the society. It needs to interact and socialize. Communication is the most important tool to keep ourselves connected. We express our views, our ideas with the help of verbal as well as non-verbal gestures. The more we are transparent in our communication, the more we develop pro-social behavior. Finally, it helps to raise the morale of an individual. Communication is a process with the help of which we can lend our thinking and our views. It is a voice to our opinion. It is very important to communicate. When an individual is successful in communicating, he of course feels more confident and builds up the morale of an individual. So now let us sum up what we have learned today. We began by telling that how man is a social animal, how important it is to interact with others, how communication helps in interacting with others. We began with the definition of communication, wherein we told that communication is defined from a Latin word communicare, which means to share. That means communication is sharing of information, your views, your thoughts, your attitudes in such a way that it becomes a common possession with others. But communication is not enough. You have to understand that there are many barriers to this communication. So, how to overcome these barriers and how to make your communication in a desired way? For that, you have to understand effective communication. And to make it simpler, we have understood the 7 C's of communication. And let us just revise which were the 7 C's of communication: completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, and correctness. We took each C and we gave you a good example and we gave you a bad example. We told the essential attributes of each C, and again we have repeated that each C is important, and in fulfilling one C, you cannot forego the other C's of communication. And when you are abiding by all the 7 C's of communication, it helps you in the following ways. The first one we spoke was foundation of motivation. Only if you are motivated, you can communicate well. And how will you be motivated? When you are communicating in a right manner, in a right fashion, in a right design, and the receiver is receiving the exact, the accurate, the facts and the figures what you want to communicate. Then we went to the decision making process. It's very important in today's world that you stand up and you raise your voice and take your own decisions. Then how do you express your decisions? Unless and until you communicate well. Then we went to the third point, that it builds up your personality, it builds up your own attitude, because you need to face a competitive world, and to face this competitive world and ever changing society, you need to be smart, you need to develop your own attitude, and for that you need to communicate well. Then we spoke about that it helps in socializing. Again and again we spoke that it's very imperative that you keep on socializing with others, because man is a social animal, and for that pro-social behavior, it's important that you communicate in a correct manner. And finally, we spoke about that it raises the morale of an individual. Who doesn't want to build up the morale? Because that is the foundation of any individual. So now we understood that how important communication is in our day-to-day life, and to understand the exact meaning of communication and to communicate effectively, you cannot forgo the 7 C's of communication. Thank you.